The US government shutdown is now into its 30th day, and even the Democrats have had enough of Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' unhinged demands that are holding the government and the American people to ransom.
Well, I think it doesn't solve the health insurance problem, the premium problem. I think what's a very fair deal and is open the government and let's just vote on extending these premiums for a year or more. Well, I don't understand what's so hard about that. And by the way, Senator Thune has offered that, I believe. He said he'd offered up a vote that we can actually have a vote on extending these premiums. I think when put to it, you're going to see Democrat and Republicans, senators and congressmen and women want to vote for that. Why would you not want to vote to extend help with these tax credits, get premiums down for people? People are getting hurt right now in their pocketbooks. Yep. They're really need help. So why not give them some help?
Outspoken Democrat Senator John Fetterman doubled down, urging his party to reflect, regroup, and reopen the government.
If you vote to shut our government down, you are going to harm millions of Americans. And why would you do this? Where's our leverage? It was wrong. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. Absolutely, that's true. It was wrong for the Republicans to do that. It would just be wrong for us for those things.
He added in a tweet yesterday, most Americans would find it incredibly difficult to work for 5 weeks without a paycheck. This shutdown is a choice. Let's end this and pay our workers. A vote that shows principle over political party. And even CNN's Jake Tapper is pushing back on the Democrats' resistance to not play ball with the Republicans.
Should the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their
By
tactics.
the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This is also, Congresswoman, this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it.
Democrat Senator Welch was also surprisingly blasted by a CNBC host over his party's refusal to cooperate with the Republicans.
Are you ready to vote with the Republicans to reopen the government at this point as a reasonable Democrat? Maybe others would follow you.
You know, I'm not there yet because we have had literally, Joe, no discussion whatsoever about how we're going to deal with these spikes in premiums.
This is the right way to do it, Senator? By people not getting paychecks at the TSA? This is extortion. You think this is the right way to do it? In your conscience, you think it's the right way to do it? I never thought I'd say that, Andrew, that as a human being, he always says that. As a human being, you think this is the right thing to do? That's your line.
Well, that's why Senator Hawley and have our bill to make sure that folks get the nutrition that they absolutely need is why the president is paying the troops.
The chaos comes after Democrat Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made a list of unhinged demands in order to reopen the government.
Just look at the wish list, the hostage list that Chuck Schumer filed weeks ago. His demands that he said have to be met before he'll even open up the government again. $1.5 trillion in new unrelated spending Chuck Schumer demanded, including, yes, eliminating all the verifications so that illegals will get taxpayer-funded health care. That's in Chuck Schumer's bill. Chuck Schumer guts the $50 billion rural hospital fund to give taxpayer-funded health benefits to illegals in his hostage demands. That's not going to happen. And so when are we going to have a rational conversation? When are Democrats going to actually become serious in this discussion where they say, let's open up the government and start talking about our differences, about how we're going to get this country back on track?
He is also demanding $4 million for LGBTQIA plus projects exposed by Speaker Johnson just yesterday.
Things like $4 million for global LGBTQI plus awareness campaigns around the world. $4 million for the LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Balkans. They want $2 million for feminist democratic principles projects in Africa. We're not doing that. But again, the question is why?
Schumer added to this list today by demanding the GOP vote on a food stamp funding program while still refusing to open the government. House Speaker Johnson has also been on a warpath against Schumer, blasting him for not cooperating for the good of the American people.
I mean, you've heard them in their own words say the quiet parts out loud. Chuck Schumer literally said here 6 or 7 days ago that every day of the shutdown gets better for us, meaning his party. You had the number 2 ranked Democrat in the House just the other day say, yeah, we understand it's going to cause pain, but that's really the only time we have leverage. They admit that they're doing this intentionally and that they want people to hurt.
And not only are politicians on both sides sick of Schumer's shutdown, so are the American people, particularly those federal workers not receiving a paycheck.
And Joe, I was stunned talking to you just before we started here. You missed your first paycheck, yet you're continuing to work.
Good morning. Yes, I did. 6 days a week, a lot of times 10 hours a day.
You're working without a paycheck?
Without a paycheck.
What kind of impact is that having on you, your family, meeting bills?
You know, the pressure is real. We go to work and we speak with people. That's all we talk about. It's a distraction. You go home to your safe place and it's a distraction there too. Deciding, prioritizing what bills are going to be paid, what's got to get cut. And it's a distraction for your home life.
And the situation has become so dire that the largest union representing American federal workers has stepped in, turning against the Democrats to demand the government reopen.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very dramatic call from that union of federal employees representing hundreds of thousands with a statement today saying, among other things, that it's time for our leaders to start focusing on how to solve problems for the American people rather than on who is going to get the blame for a shutdown that Americans dislike. Because when the folks who serve this country are standing in line for food banks after missing a second paycheck because of this shutdown, they aren't looking for partisan spin. They're looking for wages that they earned. They go on to essentially say that Congress needs to pass, in their view, a clean CR.
Even CNN was forced to admit the shutdown is hurting the Democratic Party's polling numbers.
Starting with Republicans, how has the shutdown seemed to have affected their political standing?
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
And instead of ceding to Schumer's demands, Trump and Vance are not moving an inch whilst the government remains shut.
What's not reasonable is to hold those ideas as leverage and to shut down the government unless we give you everything that you want. There were multiple times where Leader Jeffries or Leader Schumer would say, you know what, we should be doing this. And the President of the United States would say, yeah, absolutely, let's have that conversation. But we're going to do it in the context of the people's government being open. We're not going to let you take the people's government hostage and then give you everything that you want. And that's really the state of the negotiation. Yeah.
But whilst the president is not ceding on demands, the leadership of the US are no longer allowing federal workers to not be paid because of the shutdown, with J.D. Vance confirming that he has found a way to ensure military workers get paid by Friday.